Welcome to Commerce Content and the New Digital Paradigm. As we get started, just a note that if you have any questions throughout the presentation, just please add them to the chat and we'll be addressing them towards the end. Let's go ahead and set the stage with just a few facts. Consumers are spending more today than ever. In 2020, more than 2 billion people bought goods and services online. And those 2 billion people spent over $4.2 trillion in the process. And while the COVID pandemic very well may have helped spur the 25% increase in digital commerce over the last year, the shift to digital sourcing of goods and services may very well be permanent. The shift is not only evident in the amount of online shopping that consumers are doing, but how they are going about discovering products and ultimately making purchase decisions. Nearly 9 out of 10 consumers are reading reviews before making purchases, with nearly 55% saying that they read at least 4 reviews before buying a product. Consumers are taking the time to do their own research for their own information and knowledge, but also for the reassurance from others who have had experiences with the product. And another thing that people are doing is getting more annoyed with ads. 30% of people surveyed find website ads distracting, 32% find them excessive, and 38% find them intrusive. This really shouldn't surprise any of us. Consumers today flat out just don't like advertising. They've been doing the work and the research on their own to find the products that they want and to make their purchase decisions. And publishers and brands are finally beginning to recognize this affinity for reviews and disdain for advertising and have changed their game plan accordingly to embrace this new behavior. Consumers today are spending 43% more time watching online commerce videos, 42% more time reading user reviews, and 41% more time reading reviews from trusted publications. So what's driving this increased engagement with commerce content and product reviews and recommendations? Well, we've already established that there's just simply more shopping happening. People are just doing a lot more buying today and enjoying that dopamine hit when they get home to a package on their doorstep, that same feeling when somebody likes or comments on your post. And speaking of social effects, there also seems to be a bit of social competition happening with shopping today, to where commerce has almost become a competitive sport, where people are not just trying to follow trends in social media and with their friends, but they want to create those trends. And there's also just a lot more choice out there today, a lot of startups, a lot of niche products and trends. There's almost 2 million stores on Shopify's platform today. Compare that to just 40,000 stores on their platform just less than 10 years ago. That's a 42% increase in the number of stores selling more things. And finally, there's just simply more supply of commerce content, just information that's out there today about products that didn't exist in critical mass even just 5 years ago. And that's the topic of today's session, commerce content. It's digital content published by individuals and independent media organizations that offers readers an opportunity to discover and learn more about the goods and services that an editorial person or team stands behind. The content includes product reviews, gift guides, how-to guides, buyer guides, product comparisons, and other formats. And what's unique about this content is that revenue for these publishers is increasingly coming from the affiliate and commerce links embedded within the content itself versus the advertising that's around the content. And though dedicated review-based publishers like Consumer Reports and user review platforms like Yelp have been around for years, there's been a trend towards commerce content-specific strategies for major publishers just over the last 3 to 4 years. And I believe that this has been fueled by an explosion of commerce content that started with influencers on social publishing platforms like YouTube, talking about products that they're passionate about while building sizable audiences and learning ways to monetize their content while remaining authentic and true to their audience, perhaps out of passion, but also because of the comments and subscribe features that these social publishing platforms have built in. We believe in the rise of commerce content so much that Impact.com recently funded an important piece of research in partnership with Fortune. In June and July of this year, Fortune surveyed over 200 executives and professionals who are involved in commerce content creation and distribution for digital media publishing companies in the US, in the UK, Germany, and Australia. Impact.com also conducted a customer survey on adoption, activities, and attitudes around commerce content in Q1 of this year. We received 168 responses from partnership professionals globally. And here's what all this research discovered. Commerce content is growing fast. More than half of the publishers surveyed expect revenues from commerce content to grow at least 25% over the next 2 years. But a quarter of publishers surveyed are expecting commerce content revenues to grow at 50%. The future in publishing for the first time in a long time is bullish. A large majority also agree that in the future, commerce content revenue will contribute to a larger share of digital publishing revenue. Publishers' confidence is well supported by solid financial returns resulting from their commerce content programs. They cite higher total revenues, improved cash flow, and increased profit margins as the top 3 gains they've derived from these endeavors. And it's not just publishers who are excited about having adopted commerce content initiatives. Brands have as well, as they strive to be more relevant in the daily lives of consumers. Our own Impact.com survey shows that commerce content is already part of 72% of brand-side partnership programs, and 65% of brands said that commerce content is an important part of their strategy this year. In fact, the most mature brands, those working with 20 or more content publishers, list brand awareness as the biggest benefit, even over and above revenue and customer acquisition. And we've noticed a number of changes that publishers have had to go through in order to adapt to this emerging opportunity of commerce content. Publishers have had to make more audience-led commerce content decisions. They've had to form a whole new team, an independent commerce content department, and evolve their monetization strategies from selling their audience to selling to their audience. And publishers have had to handle commerce content growing pains. On the first transformation, moving towards audience-based content decisions, think about this paradigm shift for a minute. In the early days of publishing, decisions on what stories ran and which ones were shelved had to go through a specific group of individuals, the editors. Editors were expected to be the proxy for the audience, typically making unilateral decisions about what news was fit to print, deciding what their audiences ought to be reading, curating what articles were worthwhile, and dictating the content tastes of their audience. So in the early days, the editors were effectively the audience. The democratization of media resulted in an explosion of content creators. And with the rise of large blog and social media publishing platforms, barriers to entry were reduced, drastically lowering the cost for producing content and distributing it far and wide to a large audience. Suddenly, anyone could be a writer, a designer, a photographer, a videographer, and an editor all in one. And what did these creators teach us? Listen to your audience. Likes, comments, the real-time risk of an unsubscribe. Losing your audience happened in real time. So content with these creators got more in tune with what the audience demanded. Major publishers have now adapted to the same strategy. According to our Fortune Publisher Survey, publishers use a variety of data-driven techniques to accomplish this. 3 data sources are closely ranked as most effective: audience surveys, search and social trends, and partnering with brands on their sales data. Major publishers have realized that their brand has credibility and value and can be leveraged to provide quality commerce-based content based on the needs of their audience. And sizable editorial teams have evolved now to become product experts. The second transformation is about people and the formation of a formal commerce content team. A few years ago, brands and agencies really struggled with formalizing commerce content deals with publishers. They had to work through their publishers' ad sales team, who really didn't know how to handle and route these novel, these native content partnership requests. Everything was ad hoc, and as a result, very frustrating for all parties involved. If you fast forward to today, 87% of publishers say that they have a dedicated commerce content team. Brands and agencies can now forge direct relationships with the appropriate people in the publisher's organization. But the experience is not like buying an ad. It's more like a public relations firm motion on the side of the brand, where brands may brief commerce content editors about their company, products, and services, and the editors will take that in along with any available commerce or affiliate links. And the formation of a commerce content team is proven as a critical step in ensuring content maintains its editorial integrity, which is the foundation for the trust that readers have in these publications. Leilani Hahn, head of business development and partnerships at Wirecutter, states, "Our credibility in maintaining a strict separation between editorial and business interests has absolutely been the key factor in our ability to drive sales to our merchant partners." And she goes on to say that our readers are very savvy, and we've been very successful in being primarily supported by affiliate revenue from day one because of their trust. So it's critical that we create meaningful content that isn't compromised by business interests. And in that same vein, the third transformation deals with how commerce content monetization strategies have adapted and changed over time. In the early days of commerce content, monetizing links with last click attribution using a percentage of referred sales was the norm. The publisher would earn a certain amount of revenue from a page, mostly through advertising though, and turning links into CPA-based affiliate links was just incremental revenue, kind of like an added tip or a bonus. Publishers would mostly work with a sub-affiliate or Amazon for links because it was easy and it just wasn't yet a material source of revenue. Because most notably then, most commerce pages and articles were littered with advertisements taking up the majority of page space. Fast forward to today, publishers are now focusing on the content itself and optimizing the commercial value of what's inside the content with commerce or affiliate links. And some are just ditching ads on pages altogether to focus solely on the commerce content monetization natively within the content itself. And publishers' understanding of the role of commerce content has evolved. Percentage of referred sales is still the most common monetization method at 41%, but a third of publishers now monetize it through other means, including a fixed amount per conversion generated by a campaign and a fixed percentage for just participating in the customer journey. These monetization strategies have proven to be effective. The percentage of publishers generating revenue from commerce content has significantly increased, more than tripling from 18% to 62% just over the past year. And the fourth and final transformation is how publishers plan on handling the growing pains associated with commerce content, which includes solving for how do you go after these growth strategies to scale successfully. At impact.com, we believe it's essential to get the people, process, and technology right in order to scale for an opportunity like this. And just focusing on the people component, according to the survey, the top 3 people competencies needed to support growth are marketing skills for brand building, partnering skills to manage more brands, and collaborating skills to build more effective partnerships. I interpret this as high requirements for more business development skills. But challenges abound. The 3 most important obstacles are cited by just over a quarter of respondents. They include the ease with which competitors can track a publisher's activity and emulate content, over-reliance on 1 or 2 merchants that generate an outsized portion of revenue, and third, analytical difficulties in measuring content level revenue. Some of these can certainly be tackled by having a differentiated content strategy, while others can be addressed through technology to track and diversify your partnerships. Despite these challenges, publishers are seeing incredible results. Wirecutter has seen its revenue expand 470% year over year, and the Meredith portfolio of publishing brands reported a 100% increase in revenue over the last 3 years, with both publishers crediting commerce content as the key factor at play. Impact.com has witnessed these shifting trends over the past decade and has become the global standard platform for all partnership types across the partnership economy. And with the recent acquisition of Trackonomics, Impact.com is now the global standard platform that enables brands and publishers to partner together on commerce content specific initiatives. Trackonomics is giving publishers like CNN and Forbes a suite of tools to power their commerce content initiatives. This includes the Trackonomics SSP to aggregate and consolidate data from multiple partnership and advertising platforms to gain a holistic view of performance, and Link Scanner to detect issues like dead URLs, out-of-stock products, price mismatches, bad redirects, and generate new replacement links directly so that publishers can recoup lost earnings. Up next, we're excited to dive into how publishers like CNN and Recurrent are creating effective strategies and differentiating and growing their commerce content programs. I'm Dave Ivano, CEO of Impact.com. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, Dave. This is the panel on the new era of commerce content and what it means to you. I'm Bryce Weidlitz, your host for today, and I'm joined with some awesome panelists. So some background on me: Bryce Weidlitz joined Impact and Trackonomics 6 months ago, focusing on publisher innovation. Previously was at CNN, where I founded CNN _, the recommendation section of CNN. Excited to be with some other folks here today. Breton, would you like to give a quick introduction?
Sure. Thanks, Bryce. Hey, everyone. Breton Fischetti, the VP of Commerce Revenue at Recurrent Ventures. Been here for a couple of months leading the affiliate revenue strategy. Before that, I was at Insider leading their commerce efforts for the last 6 years.
I'm Chris Herbert. I am at CNN Digital. Been here for about 6 years. I run our operations and business development, including CNN _, the business that Bryce launched before he left. And I've been in that for about 6 months, pretty deep.
Yep, I'm Kayla Castro. I'm the Director of Affiliates and strategic collaborations at Avocado Green Brands. I've been there for about 2 years, and before that in affiliate space for about 5 total years.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And thanks everyone for joining us today. So going to do a round robin of some questions. And we'll get started with what benefits has your partnerships and affiliate business brought to the wider organization? I know that this is, 5-7 years ago, there wasn't many, publishers, news organizations that had large commerce content divisions, but that's rapidly changed. And it's almost rare now if you don't have a content commerce division or, group within your publisher focus on this specific opportunity. Breton, what have you seen in terms of, what the partnership space and affiliate space has brought to the wider org?
Yeah, thanks, Bryce. I think first and foremost, it's great to bring an audience to our sites, right? This is something that if you didn't have commerce content several years ago, you now have, and it's another way to attract readers to your site, right? We always want we want to attract eyeballs, and then ideally, revenue follows those eyeballs. But with commerce content, the specific really exciting thing about what you can learn about your audience is obviously you see their transaction data, the things that they purchase through your content. And through that, you can learn a lot about your readers, and some of it validates, your existing strategy, but also you can try new things and learn that certain things that you thought might work maybe didn't, because you have this extra layer of data from your readers directly. So really powerful tool.
Awesome. And Chris, I know from, obviously some background on my CNN days, but what have you seen now that the commerce content space has brought to CNN?
Yeah, so the most obvious one is revenue, and really getting away from, or I should say, diversifying from solely being focused on advertising revenue and bringing in a different form of revenue in terms of affiliate that is reader supported is a really important thing for us. And I think as we grow, will become more and more important, but probably just as important as the actual number that it brings in to support the journalism that we do. It's the fact that it's reader supported, and CNN has been making a shift for a number of years now into a more direct to consumer brand, trying to think more about what are the needs of our users, what problems do we solve. When CNN was founded 40 years ago, it was a broadcast cable network, right? And so it was all about exposing. It's all about bringing our journalism to the world and holding the powerful accountable. But a lot of times we didn't think about what readers actually wanted. And on digital, that platform really allows you to do a lot of different things to serve people. So for us, it's been that revenue diversification piece, but also solving an actual problem for users, which is how do we help them make better decisions about how to spend their money?
Excellent. And Kayla, you're the unique advertiser or brand voice in the discussion. So I've heard from publishers, but how do you guys view the partnership affiliate space, and what benefits have they brought to the wider Avocado brand?
Sure, yeah. So content affiliates in particular are so key to us in a space that's as concentrated as the mattress industry. Content really helps us diversify and explain exactly what it is about our brand that sets us apart from everyone else. I think customers are always going to be drawn towards that bottom funnel discount, but we're seeing more and more that they're doing research into the brand to just double check that it makes sense with them as an individual and with the lifestyle choices that they're making. So we're really seeing the customer choose the brand that they connect with over the brand that offers that better discount. And content is really the only way to connect with that new consumer at that personal lifestyle level. So affiliates have really been instrumental in helping us reach new audiences that may not yet know about Avocado, but are looking for brands like ours that fit into their healthier lifestyle goals.
Super helpful. Yeah, that's to me, I think, the power of content commerce and being able to sell or a product is to tell the story and give the background that a digital ad might not be able to, and you actually get to consume content and read about it and learn more. And then if you're interested, go and make a purchase. So it actually plays nicely with the next ideas. Historically, partnerships affiliate has been in just the straight, like, you get paid when you perform an action, or you convert. But I think we're seeing a lot more of unique, other diversification of models. So not just, you buy a product, you get a percentage of the sale, or you sign up someone for a form, you get a paid bounty. It feels like, and I talk to new publishers almost every day, that publishers and brands and advertisers are getting a little bit more savvy, diversified with how they pay for the exposure, because publishers work really hard to write the content. They might be top of funnel, and someone ends up, whether it's getting a coupon or they've read about it, so they see it in store and they end up making a purchase, but it's not always end of funnel. And so it's interesting to hear about new methods so that publishers are getting compensated for generating the content awareness. So curious, Breton, have you guys tested out other methods outside of CPA or CPL? And has there any that have been working really well, or is this something you guys haven't really experienced much? You guys haven't been involved much with yet?
Yeah, it's a great question, Bryce. We've done some experimentation. I think what we try to keep top of mind with all of our affiliate partnerships is that if they're working correctly, we want to set them up for the long term, and that we want to be driving value across the entire chain of the, shopping cycle, right? Or funnel, whatever you want to call it, right? Our readers have to be delighted by the products that we recommend or service. We have to have a good relationship with our partners, and we have to benefit from making the connection between our readers and our partners' products and services. So how we get there, I think, will definitely change over time. I think publishers are uniquely positioned in the advertising space because they can do top of funnel, mid funnel, and low funnel. But for me, I think what's important is not necessarily the method, but that it works for everybody, and obviously that there's a positive ROI coming out of this. That's something we want to make sure that this business continues to be sustainable and exciting for us.
That's great. I think it's interesting, Kayla. I don't know if you have any specific thoughts on that too, because a mattress is a very high price point item. Getting a user to buy a huge average order value like that. I don't know, do you guys experiment much outside of just paying for the conversion and the transaction, or are you compensating publishers like on a CPC or just awareness for some maybe flat fee? Are you guys doing any of that right now, or is that on the roadmap?
Yeah, we definitely don't shy away from flat fees, especially when they back out into an ROI that works for us. But we also look to some metric like just general engagement with different placements that we try, trying different placements on sites, whether sometimes placements work on a CPA level and sometimes they really work better on a flat fee level. And sometimes affiliates wish they had got the CPA instead of the flat fee, depending on how successful it is. So we're pretty open as a brand. I know some brands try to stick to, only CPA or only CPC, but for different placements, it really makes sense to try to hit an audience at a different level and look at, are we looking for that conversion, or are we just looking to spread the news about avocado and our product, or a new product that we're launching, even just in general, like awareness about what we're doing as a brand, and like the sustainability measures that we're taking. So we take a lot of different factors into account when we're looking at placements.
I love that. I think it's super smart to test things out, and if they work, great, or if they don't, then you can pivot. But I think, especially like your case is unique in the sense where it's not, a $20 accessory or a case or, headphones. It's a very high price point mattress that takes a lot of effort into convincing someone to buy. And it's not fun to return. I've had not avocado, but I've had other mattresses in the past you've had to return, and it's a pain. So you really want to make sure you're making the right decision when you're recommending them, and have publishers compensated appropriately. It's actually a perfect kind of segue into what, Kayla, how have you found the most successful ways to get coverage in publishers' content? I know as a publisher, and Chris knows and Brett knows that publishers get hundreds of requests a day, thousands a month. What are you doing to be so successful? So are you tailoring your approach, or what specifically, without giving away your secret sauce, what have you been doing that has resonated with publishers? And how have you been successful?
Yeah, we absolutely tailor our pitches to content affiliates. We're actually launching 2 new brands this week in 2 very different verticals for us, apparel and skincare. So our team has been doing a lot of very specific pitches to content affiliates lately. And the partnerships that we're bringing into these new programs are not necessarily the obvious choices for those industries, but they work for our story and for our customers' lifestyle. And so we really try to find affiliates that work on that level. So we're not just kind of spreading far and wide, but we're really tailoring our approach and really getting that the highest ROI possible, the highest level engagement possible. And in general, our content affiliates have an audience that resonates closely with our mission. And we're seeing that because these affiliates are already creating quality content that naturally aligns with who we are as a company. And since all these brands are operating in really saturated markets, having that targeted content kind of helps us stay out of the general internet noise so that we can really reach the customers that want to purchase from us at the end of the day.
Super helpful. Yeah, I've noticed it really takes a tailored pitch and custom, knowing your audience of who you're reaching out to, knowing the categories they don't cover, and developing a relationship with the people on the publisher side is super key to getting coverage and having a unique approach. So it sounds like you've been successful in doing that. In terms of creating content, Chris and Breton, how much is SEO a part of your partnership affiliate success? And how much do you invest in relative to that? Like, what do you optimize for? Chris, you want to go ahead?
Sure. Yeah, SEO is huge and very, very critical for us as a brand. We get somewhere between 30 and 40% of our traffic from SEO. And we definitely look a lot at what people are searching for when we consider, which topics to cover and, what people are interested in. We have, I think it's 3 full-time heads right now, growing to 5 next year, to give a few details, but we definitely have a lot of people that are 100% focused on SEO, and they're sort of integrated with our editorial teams, which in this day and age when we're mostly working from home largely means they're in the same Slack channels all day. But just sort of giving advice on things people are searching for and then helping to optimize articles after the fact. They don't dictate what we write, but they have a large voice in it. And I think it just speaks to wanting to be, user first and write about things that people care about so we can solve problems for our users.
Yeah, I would say it's very similar for us. Search is hugely important, right? It's one of the most active ways people use the internet, and it's certainly something we want to dedicate resources towards. I think about what a good media company does is it provides 2 different kinds of services, and if there's a third or a fourth that I'm missing, let me know, because there's probably a revenue opportunity there too. But there's discovery, which is things readers didn't know they wanted to know yet. That can be news, features, deep dives, things that come up across your feed and get you excited to click and read. And then there's the things that they know they need help with, right? Evergreen research information, product recommendations, how-tos, informational articles. Putting those 2 tools together is what makes, I think, a really comprehensive, balanced, and strong media company. And obviously, one of the best ways to do that is to focus on evergreen search interest. And there are so many tools from a journalistic point of view that are really powerful because how people are using Google, and you can already reach them. They're a built-in audience. So, I mean, that's what a lot of journalists want to do, is grow their audience. And this is a very dependable way to do that.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's interesting to see how, Google might rank certain keywords, or certain search engines might support certain things, or what publishers are affiliated with certain results. But I think it's become a more dominant factor. As Chris mentioned, like, what do you do when you need a new blender? You type in best blender or best mattress. And I think, Kayla, that is a good question for you too. Obviously, I'm sure it's dream state when you get featured in a publisher's article on the best mattress, and then you guys are hopefully the #1 result. And then it's this probably fire hose of conversions. I mean, that's probably a huge advantage of being featured in content publishers' websites, but what are other of the biggest advantages you've seen to having your brand featured in content publishers' websites?
Yeah, it's definitely great to be on a top list, but at the end of the day, our customers, if they're purchasing a mattress, like you said, it's a really big decision. So they're doing a lot of research leading up to that purchase point. And so the biggest advantage for us as a brand with content has been our ability to communicate exactly what it is that sets us apart as a brand and as a product. And because this mattress industry is so saturated, content really gives us the space to tell our story, to talk about our certifications and why they're important, and really get into the weeds with our product materials and sustainability measures at that brand level. And that way consumers not only have an understanding of our products and why they make sense at a quality of sleep level, but also at that general quality of life level. We're seeing that so many people are looking for non-toxic products to put into their homes. And without that third-party content, it's hard for them to tell which brands are greenwashing and which ones are actually creating healthy products. And so in that sense, having affiliate content is so vital for us as a brand.
Awesome. Yeah, the lots of benefits to brands by including in publishers' content, not just SEO, but several others. There's also collaboration with other teams on the publisher sides outside of the brand. But I think it's been hard to figure out the right balance. Some maybe do it a lot, and then others not at all, and then others are in the middle. I think is the most publishers that have found themselves. There's a need and a desire from the advertising unit to say like, hey, we want to participate. We want to partner with you guys on your commerce content. We want to sell our advertisers something. What can you do? And I think it's been a little bit of a challenge to find that right mix that's content driven, but from an advertising perspective. Curious, Breton, if you've collaborated with the ad sales team or media buying side at Recurrent or formerly to grow the overall revenue stream, or is that something you guys haven't had much success or you guys haven't dived into yet?
A bit. Obviously something I'd love to do a lot more of, right? I think when you start to mix multiple different ways to reach a potential consumer or reader, you're talking about a really valuable service from a brand advertising perspective. But I think there are things that have to go right for that to work. It's much a lot harder than sort of plug and play solutions. So I think there has to be an interest on the audience side in the brand partner already. So we want to see affiliate data coming through that says there is a positive reception from readers. We also need to make sure that the site that we have is a good fit for the advertiser from a brand perspective and from a reach extension perspective. If those two things work, then I think you have a scenario where 1 + 1 = 3. But a lot of times we have advertisers on the brand side who don't necessarily think about affiliate in that way, or affiliate advertisers that don't have brand budgets. So unfortunately for now, it's sort of waiting for the top 10 or 5% of partners to really check all those boxes and to get to a strategic level. But I think over the next several years, we're going to see that start to happen a lot more often than it has now. I think it does in very small dollar amounts with very specific partners. But I'm very, very bullish on that space overall over the next couple of years.
Great. And Chris, what about you at CNN and an advertiser partnering or sales team?
Yeah, so we have I would say a small revenue line there. There's an enormous amount of interest from advertisers and sponsors that deal with our ad sales team. Particularly, they say, "Hey, we noticed you have this commerce thing. Is there a way you can write about us?" And what makes it tricky for us is the main reason that that we exist is because people trust us to write reviews that are objective and independent. To the point about sort of mattresses and the green, people, what was the phrase? Greenwashing, right? They want to know that CNN is going to actually come in and do the research and is a brand that they can trust. And so I have a lot of trouble figuring out how to make this work. I mean, the vision that I would have is a little bit like in magazines, and I use this a lot, where we currently accept some degree of advertorial, where it's very clearly labeled, this is a paid column, and that can drive conversions for sponsors and be interesting. But when you're reading a magazine, you typically skip past those pages pretty quickly. And the place that I'd love to get to is one where people want to look at all the ads, right? And so if we ever do paid advertising on our content site, it has to be as interesting. Everyone knows what it is. That's an ad, but it's a place where you'd come to find sort of the latest or get ideas for things you might want to buy, kind of thing. So we're still working on that as we evolve our page templates and site design. I think there's some interesting possibilities that could do both, where we can maintain the trust we have with users, but also capture some of that demand from advertisers. Just haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah, and Kayla, seems like a common theme is that there's a lot of publisher interest, because there's a lot of interest on the sales side, and it's just finding that tasteful editorial voice and how to capitalize on both. Does your team, or do you guys focus, like when you get, you mentioned flat fees before, but do you guys focus on flat fees or paid content, or is that a different division? How much does that play into your affiliate business?
Yeah, so we have an in-house editorial PR team in addition to an affiliate team. So we definitely work really closely with that team, with our PR agency, just to ensure that we are finding the content partnerships that work best. Sometimes it's at the big publication level, it's easier to just work through PR, and sometimes it makes much more sense to do it as an affiliate play. And so we really try to find that special, balance between just flat spend and finding something that backs out into a positive ROAS for us.
Got it. Speaking of different ways to monetize and diversification and trends, have you seen any trends, Kayla? And this is then can be opened up, Chris, Breton, for ideas, but have you seen any trends emerge in the partnership space that's helped your program to grow over the past few years? Is there anything different that you've been doing? Any trends that have emerged that you've seen?
Yeah, well, we've only been around as a brand for about 5 years, so we haven't really, as a brand, haven't seen a big trend level, but I've been in the space for a while, and definitely the trend towards content has been so crucial for us. I mean, it's impossible to connect with an affiliates audience if they're not interested in our mission. If that consumer is only looking for the highest cashback rate, or if they don't really care about off-gassing and VOCs, then they're really not going to be interested in hearing about avocado. And so when we started to grow that affiliate program, we really focused our partnership efforts on the affiliates that already had an audience that was open to receiving our brand message, as well as our product. And that's just straight content. So we've seen success where the affiliates audience and ours are particularly aligned. And this is anywhere from a mission level alignment of like general sustainable living, like through a blog or something like that, all the way down to specific product level lines like vegan mattresses, and working with partners like CNN who are testing out the best ones and really writing out in-depth content on why that specific product works best.
And Chris, Breton, anything in terms of, doesn't even necessarily need to help your program grow, but any trends that you've seen emerge in the space in the past, few years that are worth talking about, or that you think will be there in the future?
Yeah, I'm happy to start. We've been putting a lot into social, in particular Instagram and TikTok. We do a little on LinkedIn as well, but mostly the sort of platforms that let you show and tell more, and in more creative formats. And we'll be expanding to YouTube soon. And I think we see a real opportunity for video, because it brings to life what you're writing. If you're looking for a mattress, I think there's only so much you can get from reading words on a page. It's much more compelling to see pictures, and especially video of someone actually testing it. And when we run our tests, right, we go through a batter of these things. And there was an example last week. We were testing suitcases, and we were throwing them down the stairs to see which ones kind of survived. That's amazing video, right? And that you can write, we threw these 10 suitcases down the stairs and this is what happened, but to show it is way, way better. So we will of course do that on our own site, but we think some of these platforms like TikTok and Instagram are really made for that kind of content. And while they don't yet have sort of fully fledged monetization programs, they're all experimenting and moving in that direction. And so I think, a year from now, probably less, like we'll be making money there.
Yeah, I would echo Chris to say, I think, just over the last 6 years, we've seen affiliate kind of continually expand into different industries at different rates, certainly, right? So on a platform level, I think YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok to a much more recent extent have started to look at the space. And, I think that those tools will continue to evolve, which will drive the, those platforms forward for publishers as well. And I think it's an industry thing too, where, if you look at, for example, the auto industry, there's not really anything affiliate related there. So I would just expect industries that don't really seem like a natural fit for affiliate now will eventually find their way towards a strategy that'll get, and that's very exciting for publishers too. And obviously I'm used to a very broad publication because I came from Insider, which is more like CNN, but here with, the Drive, I think when those industries come online, it can be a very, very powerful tool depending on whatever brand you're working with.
Totally agree. Yeah, I think the car auto space is prime for disruption, and the affiliate space. I mean, what's better than, recommending a product? You could recommend a car. So I think, and tell a story behind it. So I think that's super smart. Also, on playing off, I saw a job post the other day for, I think it was like head of shopping at Google, or for YouTube. So could come to mean what, video monetization, shopping content is coming. Similarly, not job board wise, but related to live streaming, I think, sometimes you could see what's happening in other countries, specifically China, as what might come later in commerce. And so live streaming has been huge there. I know that there's publishers that are starting to experiment with it, haven't really figured it out just yet, but I do think that's another activity and trend that's going to emerge. I don't know if it's emerged yet, but it's definitely starting to. And it plays off a deeper level of video content, having an experience with the product that could arguably be better or an alternative than a photo or a description. So I think that's coming for sure. And then really closing a question, in terms of, it's funny, but, Bretton, you were at Insider before, Chris, CNN, but there's, Times Wirecutter, there's Strategist, there's BuzzFeed, there's Digital Trends. I mean, there's so many different content commerce publishers out there. NBC News just launched a new site, The Select, the other week. And I mean, I'm talking to publishers every day, and there's constantly publishers that are innovating or have been around for a long time and will do 100 million in sales. And you're like, I had no idea that you even existed. And so I think it's about being really true to your audience and knowing, your specific audience and the strategies that you need to tailor to your audience. So curious, Chris and Bretton, what you've seen into, like, how do you suggest other publishers if they're new? We also talk a lot of new ones too, like talk to a radio publisher that's getting into the space. What suggestions do you have for them to lean into that are specific to their growth? Like where should they look? How do they begin to get in the space? What I always liked about the space is it's big, but it's small. And, when Bretton was at Insider and I was at CNN, I'd always text him. We wouldn't share like revenue numbers or email, but we'd share like, some high level strategies. Same with everyone else in the space is very opening, and you really just compete on search a little bit, but in everywhere else, it's just your audience coming to your site. So curious, suggestions you have, because I do feel like the more we work together, the more we can grow the space. But what suggestions you might have for publishers that are new into what strategies should they go after? Bretton, maybe you have some ideas to start.
Sure. I think the way to do that is just a little bit of research internally into your own publisher data and some creative thinking. When we started the program at Insider, it was just out of a little bit of a stretch, but to sort of say, look, we're already kind of doing product coverage in these ways that aren't very mindful of what actually, is going to lead to a transaction. So if we changed what we're doing 15 or 20% to make it more about the product and less about the, launch of said product, then we could do it. And I think it's the same thing, right? If you're a publisher that, can do that, and again, depending on whatever industry or area of specialization and the maturity of affiliate in that, it might be harder or easier, but that's sort of what you do, is just look for natural extensions. And if your audience responds to specific types of editorial, specific stories, companies, even, you can use that to kind of guide your own thinking. And obviously, I think what's great about affiliate is you can do a lot of experimentation, right? An affiliate editorial person can do a lot and try a lot of things. And because you get this feedback from your audience in almost real time about what it is they're positively or not positively responding to. If it's positive, they'll buy it. If it's negative, they won't. You can really hone your strategy very quickly over time. So it doesn't take a lot to start learning which direction you should go, even if it's not a perfectly straight, clear path.
Super helpful. Chris, I don't know if you have any other.
Yeah, look, that's all really smart. I mean, I think knowing your audience is the key, which, you kind of said, but, for us, we definitely experimented with a lot of things. I think if you recall, Bryce, in the beginning, some of the most popular products were things like salt lamps and weighted blankets. And it felt a little bit like, is everyone just really stressed out? And, this is what they're looking for. But over time, we've really expanded, and, we've recently beginning into a lot of skincare products for, targeted at women over 40. And some of that is just, understanding your audience and following the data and seeing what works. And things like that aren't necessarily obvious, right? But they come out of the data, and I think just follow it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's it's a ton of experimentation, trial and error. If you try a brand several times and it doesn't convert, try another angle. If it doesn't, probably not a brand that's a good fit with the audience. And I think the biggest thing that I've learned too is like leaning into where your audience is. So if your audience is heavily, newsletter consumption, be good to market your commerce brand in newsletter. Or if you guys, get tons of homepage traffic, would be a good idea to, promote the commerce business on the homepage. That's super helpful. And I think any new publisher getting into the space could benefit from hearing that, Chris and Breton. Cool.
Yeah, Bryce, the only other thing I might add is how important it is to communicate internally. CNN has been around a long time, and there's a very, we call it sort of capital J journalism mentality, which is what makes us so strong. And it definitely took a lot of sort of communication and persuasion to get people on board with a new thing, a new way of money, a new way of covering products and content. And so that was a step that I think you almost can't communicate too much in order to get the buy-in that you need to get the support you need to grow the business.
Awesome. And Kayla, we heard, that's from publishers' advice. Do you have any suggestions for brands, not mattress brands, but any other, or skincare now, any other pieces of information for how you can, lean into strategies that work? It seems like you guys do a lot of testing, exploration. You don't leave a stone unturned. Is there anything that you think has worked really well for you in this space? I know you guys haven't been around super long, or maybe at previous roles if they were at brands, but anything that you can share?
Yeah. So I guess my biggest piece of advice would be for brands to approach content publishers as a long-term relationship. You do get instant results with certain placements, but we definitely approach it as something that we want to develop over time. It's a relationship that we want to develop with both the publisher and with the publisher's audience. So it's not something that we just want to utilize and be done with. We are on calls all the time with our publishers. We check in with them on a personal level and just make sure that, people are really understanding what we do as a brand, then they kind of drink the avocado juice, and we found that they really like, the new products that we're coming out with, or they understand what the certifications are that we have. And that's just something that you can't buy, like those kind of relationships. So it's definitely something that I recommend for brands to try to look at it as something that's mutually beneficial and definitely a long-term partnership.
That's great. So I'm gonna wrap up, but before we do you want to mention, Kayla, some of the new avocado brands, if you can share, that you guys are coming out? Are there any details, any shameless plugs? We could go around the room, but thought it was relevant. So if you want to go ahead and share with the audience.
Yeah, so we're launching on Tuesday. We're launching 2 new brands. So one is called Haas. They're an organic apparel company for women now. Sorry, guys, but hopefully we'll launch into men in the future. And then we're launching Reed and Gwen, which is a skincare company, and it's also very heavy into organic materials that we use in the products. Leaping Bunny, vegan certified. Lots of products will be waterless, so that definitely takes out the need for having preservatives and stuff in the products that you're using on your face and on your skin, things that you really don't want to have preservatives. So those are coming out this week, and we're really excited to start changing those industries too.
Excellent. Chris, Breton, any plugs or things to share?
I don't know much. I would just say follow CNN_ on Instagram or TikTok if you're there, and click on the links.
Yeah, I would just say, from Recurrent's perspective, I'm still relatively new here, and Recurrent is a new entity. It just launched this year. So if you are a brand or an advertiser and you haven't heard of Recurrent, that is totally fine. I would love to hear from you, and our website is recurrent.io. So just please get in touch.
Excellent. Thanks, everyone, for joining the panel, and thanks to the audience for attending IPX Connect. Hope you enjoyed the session as much as I did, and can take away some key points from it. And that's a wrap. Thanks, everyone.